Okay, good morning, everybody, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning as we are studying together Pirashat Bo. And here we are, chapter 11. We'll begin in the beginning of the chapter, Pasuk number 1. Moshe Rabbeinu just warned Paro about the 9th plague, the plague of Hoshech. And take a look at what Hashem says. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. God says to Moshe, Od nega ehad avi Paro. I'm going to bring one more plague upon Paro and upon Egypt. And after that, Yeshalach etchem mizeh. He will free you and he will let you go from here. Keshaleho kala garesh yigaresh etchem mizeh. Indeed, when he lets you go, not only will he let you go, he will actually drive you out of here, one and all. And this is the pasuk that we're going to focus on. Here we go, pasuk number 2. Everyone, please pay attention. Daber na be'oznei ha'am. And so, Moshe, please ask the people, tell the people, to borrow each man from his neighbor and each woman from hers objects of silver and gold. Daber na be'oznei ha'am. Please, I implore you. Na means I begged, right? Please ask the people that they should request from the Egyptians gold and silver. Vayiten Adonai etchen ha'am b'nei Mitzrayim. And God, don't worry, God says, you'll have favor in their eyes. And they'll give you all their money. And the question that the commentaries want to know is, why do the people need to be begged to be asked to ask for money? Why does Hashem say, Daber na, please Moshe, please make sure you do this? He doesn't ever say please to Moshe. When he says, tell Paro to bring, that you're going to bring Choshech. Please Paro, please let us go. All of a sudden, when it comes to this makah, Daber na, please make sure to beg the people. En na ela lashon bakasha. Says Rashi, the word na is always an expression of entreaty. So what does it mean here? Bebakasha mimcha, I beg of you. Hazirim akaf, make sure that they ask their Egyptians for money. They cannot leave without taking money. And if I ask you, my friends, why is it so important that the Jewish people ask the Egyptians for gold and silver? Why is that so important that God even has to beg Moshe, please make sure you do that. Make sure they ask the Egyptians. Why is it so important that they ask for money? Now, if we know about the Brit Ben Abetarim, the Brit Ben Abetarim was the covenant that God made with Avraham. Remember the covenant with Avraham Avinu? God said to Avraham, let's go back to that covenant for a minute, because it's actually very important. We're going to keep coming back to that, okay? I believe, let's open it up together. It's in, I think, chapter 15. Yes, chapter 15. Pasuk number 13. Vayomer le'Avram. God says to Avraham. This was, by the way, before he was even changed his name to Abraham. It was still Avram at this point. And God says to him, you shall surely know that one day your children will be strangers in a land that's not theirs. Va'avadum, they will be enslaved. Ve'inu they will be tortured. Arba me'ot shana, 400 years. Okay, God is telling Avraham that one day his grandchildren are going to be slaves in Egypt. Well, he doesn't specify Egypt, but they're going to be slaves for 400 years. And take a look. I will judge the people that enslave them. And then they will leave with a lot of money. So part of the promise to Avraham was that they're going to be slaves, but they're also going to leave, and when they do leave, they're going to leave with a lot of money. So says God to Moshe here as they're about to leave, Daber na, please make sure that the people ask the Egyptians for money. You know why? Shelo yomar oto tzadik Avraham, because I don't want Avraham to have any claims against me. I don't want Avraham to say the following. You know, God, Avraham is going to say, Avadum ve'inu otam, the fact that they're going to be slaves and they're going to get tortured, kiyem bahem, that part of your promise you kept. But the aspect that they're going to leave with a lot of riches, lo kiyem bahem, that, God, you did not keep. You didn't keep your end of the deal. That's not fair. And therefore, God says to Moshe, I don't want Avraham having any, what we say in Hebrew, ta'anot. In English, claims. I don't want Avraham to have any claims against me. I don't want him to take me to court, so to speak. And therefore, just do me a favor, let the Jews get their money so that Avraham will just leave me alone. That's what God's saying. And the question is that the reason that God wants to keep his end of the deal? Just to, suppress Avraham, to quiet and appease Avraham Avinu, so that Avraham shouldn't complain to me? What about the fact, God, that you made a promise and that you should keep your end of the deal? What about emet, honesty? Isn't that a good reason, God, why you should let the Jews leave with money? Because you said? Let's say Avraham won't complain. You still are not going to keep your promise? Why is it specifically God saying, Shelo yomar oto tzadik, I'm only doing it because I want to keep Avraham happy? What about your promise? What about your word? This is the question that all the commentaries address. And there are many answers to this question. Let's go through some of them, okay? One answer, the Torah Temimah. The Torah Temimah says very simply, because maybe the Jews will be what we call in Hebrew, mohel. That means to forgo. Maybe the Jews will say, you know what? Leave us alone. We don't want their money. Just let us get out of here, okay? We just don't want to deal with the Egyptians anymore. God, we don't need money. Moshe, we don't need it. Okay, so God says, no. It's very important that you take their money. Okay, and therefore God has to beg, daber na, please make sure they take money. Even though a slave may be willing to go out for free. Just get me out, instead of a mashal, you tell a guy, okay, listen, you'll leave jail tomorrow with a lot of money. The guy may say, listen, I'd rather leave now, just get me out of here and I'll forgive you on the money, okay? Just get me out today. So God didn't want that to happen. And therefore, daber na, please Moshe, make sure the Jews ask the Egyptians for money. There is another idea though over here. And that is, what does ger mean? Ger, ki ger that means there will be strangers. That means that there will be foreigners. They will be different. Did the Jews keep their end of the deal? Did the Jews remain strangers in Egypt? The truth is, if we think about it, they didn't. The Jews actually were very assimilated. Matter of fact, the Zohar says that if we didn't leave at that moment, we would have stayed stuck in Egypt forever because we would have been so spiritually deprived. So we would have been on such a low moral level. We had to leave then and there. And therefore, God says to Moshe, technically, they weren't ger. They weren't strangers. They weren't foreigners. They were very part of the Egyptian culture. They felt very comfortable at home with the Egyptians, and therefore, technically, I don't have to give them anything because they didn't keep their end of the deal. However, because avadum ve'inu otam kiyem bahem, because at least part of the deal was kept. So even though the entire deal wasn't kept, but part of the deal was kept, God over here was portraying righteousness. That therefore I'm still going to keep my end of the deal, even though you didn't keep yours fully. Because at least part of your end was kept. So I'm going to honor that. I'm going to respect that. There is a third answer, and that's the following. It says, Va'avadum ve'inu otam kiyem b'hem. Right? I don't want Avraham to say, God, you kept the first half of the deal that you're going to torture and enslave them, but you didn't keep the second half of the deal. And what's the second half of the deal? That you're going to let them leave with a lot of money. And the question is, why does Avraham have to say that? Why can't Avraham just say, listen, Hashem, what about your promise of a lot of money? That should be enough for Avraham's claim. But that's not Avraham's claim. Avraham's claim is deeper. Avraham's claim is, God, you kept the first half, but you didn't keep the second half. Why does he have to mention and specify that you kept the first half? In Hebrew, the letter Vav, right? What does Vav mean? Ve. What does Ve mean in Hebrew? Ve means and, right? So as an example, the letter Vav even looks like a hook. right? It looks like it's connecting two things. It's very interesting. So Vav, always we know it means ve, and. But, Vav could also mean something else. Yes, very good. Vav is a connecting letter. But Vav could also mean or. Either or. It could mean and it could mean or. So as an example, the Pasuk says, Make aviv ve'imo mot yumat. If somebody strikes their father, ve'imo. What does that mean? Their father and their mother. What do you mean? They strike their father and their mother. Aviv ve'imo. Then they get punished if they strike both. What if they strike just one of their parents? So over here, our rabbis point out that the letter Vav doesn't mean and. Over here, Vav means or. If you strike your father or your mother. So that's an example of where Vav is not also, but it means or. If that's the case, let us go back to Ve'aharechen yetzu b'rechush gadol. Please open the pasuk. It'll be very beautiful if you look at it inside. So God says to Avraham, your children will be slaves. They will get tortured for 400 years. Now, Gam et hagoy asher ya'avodu dan anochi. What's my end of the deal, says God? After that, the people that they enslaved them, Gam et hagoy asher ya'avodu dan anochi. What does that mean, dan anochi? I will punish them. God says the people that enslave the Jews will get punished. Ve'aharechen yetzu b'rechush gadol. What does that mean? Ve'aharechen. And they'll leave with a lot of money? Or they'll leave with a lot of money. It's very possible that what God was telling Avraham was the following. God was saying, Avraham, your children will be slaves, but don't worry. Because either the people that enslave them will get punished, or the Jews will leave with a lot of money. One or the other will happen. But don't worry, justice will be served. Either the Jews will get very rich, or they're gonna see their oppressors get punished. And if we apply that interpretation, if we understand that the letter Vav could mean or, then after all, God is now no longer obligated to let the Jews leave with a lot of money. Because God did punish the Egyptians. He brought down the 10 Makot. And if that's the case, God kept his end of the deal. Because I'm going to punish them. It's either A or B. And God chose A. And A means that they're going to get punished. The Egyptians received the 10 plagues. And therefore, I no longer need to apply B. It's very beautiful. So technically, God doesn't have to allow the Jews to leave with all the rechush gadol. They don't have to leave with all the money. So the question is, so then why did he keep that extra second condition? Why did he also let them leave with money? And that's what Rashi says. Shelo yomar oto tzadik. You know what the problem is over here? You go back to the first pasuk. Yadoa teda ki gedi yezarcha be'eretz lo lahem. Your children will be strangers in a foreign land. And look at this. Va avadu. Ve inu otam. They will be slaves. They will get tortured. How do you explain the Vav in the first pasuk? And they'll be slaves, and they'll be tortured. What did the Vav do? What function did the letter Vav have in the first half of the pasuk? Did it apply as a and, or did it apply as an or? Well, were the Jews slaves and get tortured, or were they slaves or get tortured? The answer is they were both. They were slaves and they got tortured. So in the first pasuk, the Vav served as a connecting letter, and if that's the case, says Avraham Avinu, God, it's not fair that in the first pasuk the letter Vav was and, but then when it came to the reward, you were inconsistent. You applied only the letter Vav as an or. Either they'll get punished, the Egyptians will get punished, or you will let the Jews leave with a lot of money. You can't be inconsistent. It's not fair that the punishment you applied the vav with and, but the reward you only did with the either or. That's the ta'ana, that's the question, that's the claim that Avraham, so to speak, is going to have against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Very powerful. And I think the lesson really is for us that in life, we have to be consistent with our punishments and our rewards. A lot of times, when it comes to our kids doing something wrong, we're very loud to criticize and punish them, and we overdo the yelling, the screaming. They do something wrong, they come home with a bad grade, and we go and go and go and go, and we yell and yell and yell and yell, and we criticize, and then when they come home one day with a good grade from school, we give them, oh, good job. That's inconsistent. That's not fair. You can't be extreme with the punishment and then not be extreme with lavishing them with praise and reward. You want to be extreme when they do something bad? You have to be consistent when they do something good. Same thing with a husband and a wife. It can't be that when our spouse does something wrong, we huff and puff and we're making a whole big deal out of it for a whole week. We keep mentioning it and we keep talking about it, and you did this and you promised that and I'll never forget, and because of you we were late, and because of you did this, and because of you did that. And then when something good they do, when they accomplish something great, when they make us happy, to just give them a thank you, oh, great job, thank you, oh yeah, the soup's good, yeah, thank you. And then just leave it at that. That's called inconsistent. And in life, we got to be consistent. If the vav is an and for the punishment, the vav's got to be an and for the reward. What an amazing, amazing lesson. I think if we're honest with ourselves, we'll realize that maybe we're a little bit too weighted on the negative side of life, whether it's, again, criticizing our children or our spouse or our employees. We have to be, the rule it really is not 50-50, but really when it comes to compliments and criticisms, the rule should be they say the rule is a sandwich. You ever heard of the sandwich rule? You begin with compliment and praise, you end with compliment and praise, and you throw in a little criticism in the middle. That's really the right way to criticize. And even if you have to, but it should be done very carefully. But at least it should be a 50-50. But I think maybe sometimes we're a little bit too tilted to the negative side. We have to make sure that we are consistent in our approaches in life. So that's another answer to this beautiful question of why God all of a sudden feels like he has to keep his word to Avraham. The answer is because technically the vav can be an either or. However, in this case, we're going to keep our promise because the first vav with the punishment was an and. Okay. This I would like to share with you a couple of more answers to this question. You know, the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, they got a lot of money, right? They took the money from the Egyptians. They went to the Egyptians and they said to them, hey, could we have some of your money? And the Egyptians actually, they said, we don't have money. But the Jews knew they were lying. The Jews were able, how did the Jews know that the Mizrahi, that the Egyptians were lying? Because when it came to Makat Choshech, that the Egyptians weren't able to see, the Jews, not only couldn't they see, they couldn't move. So the Jews had carte blanche. The Jews were able to roam and walk around in and out of the Egyptians' homes. And basically they were able to spy and to search and to find where and how much money the Egyptians had. They went into their socks drawer. They saw they hid some money there. They saw they hid some of the money in their suit jackets. They hid some money in the shoebox. They hid some money in the basement, under the drawer, under the thing, right? They saw where they hid money and how much they had. And now when the Egyptians tried excusing themselves and saying, no, we don't have any money, the Jews are like, what do you mean? I saw you had money right there in that drawer, under the box. There's a key. That key goes over there, opens that safe. In that safe, there's another key. Okay, fine, you get the point, right? So that's how the Jews knew how much money the Egyptians had. However, that's not the only time that the Jews took money from Mizrahi. When else did they take money? They also got rich from Yam Suf. At the splitting of the sea, the Egyptians went in, and all of the money that the Egyptians had when they drowned, they came floating onto the shore. And our rabbis even tell us that the money that we took at Yam Suf was by far more than the money that we took when we left Mizrahi. There was actually so much money at Yam Suf that the pasuk says, "Vayasa Moshe." Moshe had to literally drag and pull the people away from the seashore because there was so much money over there. The people were like a magnet. After all, they were Jews, right? And we love money. So they were like a magnet to the money that was at the seashore. So Moshe had to literally pull them away. So if that's the case, when they're leaving Egypt, they don't have to take money with them. Why? Because when they cross the sea, they're going to get all the money. And that's enough for God to keep his promise. The only problem is that Avraham Avinu doesn't know the future. So as the Jews are being taken out, Avraham's looking at this and Avraham says, whoa, what's going on? I don't understand. It's not part of our deal, God. You promised that they're going to be slaves, but they're going to leave with a lot of money. And look at them. Here they're leaving, and they don't have the money with them. What happened to the promise of the money? Now, really, the answer is Avraham, stenna, like we say in Arabic. Wait, patience. You'll see. In 7 days, they're going to be wealthy. They're going to be loaded. They're going to be rich. And this is also another lesson. That although technically God knows the future, and God knows what's going to be, but because Avraham doesn't, God cannot, and this is a lesson in life, we cannot impose our chumrot, our level of observance on the people around us. Just because God is comfortable waiting, just because for God, he's okay waiting to see the happy ending of the story in 7 days. But Avraham is an anxious guy. Avraham's going to be unsettled. And therefore, for Avraham's sake, I have to have complete transparency. I got to let the Jews go away with money now, even though technically I don't need to because they'll get the money later on. But for Avraham, for him not to be nervous, to calm him down, so to speak, to ease his nerves, I'll let them also take money as they're leaving Mizrahi. This is, again, a very powerful lesson that sometimes in life we know that something's going to be okay. We are confident that something will play out, but maybe our spouse is very nervous. Maybe our children, maybe our employees, maybe our partner, or maybe the people around us don't know what we have in stock. They don't know what's coming up in the future. They don't know what ideas or what visions or what plans we have. God's message to us through Moshe Rabbeinu is that for the people around you's sake, for the people around us, we have to apply extreme sensitivity to make sure that even they are calm, even though we are calm, to be able to relate to maybe other people and to do whatever we can to alleviate their fears. That's a very powerful idea. Rabbi, I'd like to share with you just one final answer to this question. And that is the following, and it's the answer that's provided by the Or HaYashar. The Or HaYashar says, I don't really like that answer. Avraham could wait. He's going to be in suspense. Let him wait. God, you're God. Show him the future. Show him what's going to be in 7 days. Show him that they're going to get all the spoils from Mizrahi, and Avraham will be satisfied. And it says the Or HaYashar something very powerful. Where did the money come from Yam Suf? We said that the Egyptians, when they drowned, all the money floated onto shore. But where was the money from? I thought that the Jewish people wiped them out. The pasuk says, "Vainatzelu et Mitzrayim." They made Egypt like a net without any fish. They took literally every penny, every piece of gold and silver. They wiped them out clean. Egypt was like a clean plate. There was no money left. If there's no money left, then how did they have money when they went to chase them that drowned in the ocean, that floated onto shore? Where did that money come from? And our rabbis tell us that actually that money was from Paro's private stash. Paro had money in his palace. When the Jewish people asked the Egyptians for money, they asked everybody except for Paro. Of course, no one went into Paro's palace to ask him for money. Paro, money that he had, he kept. When the Jews were running away and Paro finds out 3 days later that the Jews are running, Paro decides he's going to chase them. So he goes to everybody, he says, guys, let's go. And the people didn't actually want to go with Paro. They're like, come on, Paro, you're going to go and then you're going to ditch us and we're going to have to fight. And Paro said, you know how confident I am that we're going to win? I'm willing to put all my money on the line. And he emptied out every single dollar that he had in his palace, and he loaded them on to the wagons, to the horses. When they chased the Jews, they chased them with all of that money from the palace of Paro. So all the money that they picked up at the shore was actually Paro's private stash. Would that have sufficed if they took that money alone? The money only from Yam Suf. If they didn't take the money from the Egyptians when they left Mizrahi, would that have been okay? It would have been the money that Paro owes them. So Paro enslaved them, and Paro owes them, and they took Paro's money. However, what does the pasuk say? Not only did Paro enslave the Jews, Vaya'avidu Mitzrayim, the entire Egypt, Paro, his slaves, his servants, his workers, everybody, the regular Egyptian, everyone enslaved and tortured the Jewish people. And a proper and true midah keneged midah, a real measure for measure, would require that not only Paro's money should be given up to the Jews, but everybody's money should be given up to the Jews. So what about the rest of Egypt? And that's Avraham's claim. The claim of Avraham is Va'avadum ve'inu otam kiyem bahem. What's bahem? So simply we translated that to mean that you fulfilled through the Jews that they'll be slaves and they'll be tortured. However, over here, it means Kiyem Bahem. Says the Or HaYashar something very different. Kiyem Bahem here means that they fulfilled through multiple Egyptians. God, it wasn't one Egyptian that enslaved the Jews. It wasn't Kiyem Bo, Kiyem through one guy. It was Kiyem Bahem. There were many Egyptians that tortured and enslaved us. And therefore it's not fair for us to only get Paro's money at Yam Suf. We would also deserve all the money of the Egyptians. And therefore the Rechush Gadol must come from all of the Egyptians as well. And therefore, that's why the money from Yam Suf did not suffice. The Jews also deserved the money when we left Egypt. And that is what it means. Daber na be'oznei ha'am. Please, I beg of you, Moshe. The Jews will get rich. They'll get rich at Yam Suf. But I want them to get rich even from now. And the reason are for all of the answers that we saw today. Okay, everybody, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, God willing. We'll see you all tomorrow. Chodesh Tov. Wishing everybody an amazing month ahead. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.